Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today is a great day because here at Andy's Dinosaur Reviews we have the opportunity to take a look at the second release from Wild Past. It has been quite a while since we had a release from Wild Past, so I am incredibly excited to take a look at this newest release from them, and as you can see, it is the Tethyshadros. And you can also probably tell by the front of the box here, of course, there's some gorgeous artwork of the Tethyshadros right there, but also that it is in 1/35th scale, and that is something that I love about the Wild Past line because they continuously release their figures in the same scale, so all of them match up and size up to each other exactly the way that they would in real life, and that is an exceptionally awesome aspect of the Wild Past line, something that I am a huge fan of for sure. But again, as far as the box art goes, we have the really nice artwork here on the front of the box. You can see a beautiful image of two Tethyshadros there out in a wooded area, and we actually get two Tethyshadros in this set. Up here on the top of the box, you can see an image of the Tethyshadros that are actually contained within kind of a silhouette, as well as an image of a human being, so it gives you a good idea of what the size would be next to a human being, as well as some information on the species and exactly where you would find yourself a Tethyshadros if you happen to travel back to when they were still alive. You can also see the Wild Past logo up here. Over here on the side, we have a little area that does promote the previous release of the Protoceratops with a nest, so that is still available if you are interested, and I highly recommend picking that up because it's a gorgeous release. Over here, we have a little scan bar here, as well as a follow us on Instagram, and then on the back, a nice image telling us again that we have two figures plus a separate base, as well as showing us a sneak peek of the figures that are contained within. And then on the underside, we have all your usual warning label stuff, the stuff that you find on every box. But this is a really, really awesome looking release. I love the fact that they've released a Tethyshadros because aside from the Kayakasaurus version, I don't have any in my collection at all. So it is really awesome to see one finally get a good proper release. And of course, Wild Past bringing us, I'm sure, a gorgeous interpretation of said dinosaur. So let's go ahead, break this out of the box, and take a look at it. So straight away, here is our base, and that base is beautifully done. Such a really nice looking base with some stones that we have laying around here. We have some nice vegetation as well as a downed log and a really nice earthy area as well. We've got like some moss and stuff growing out around the edges. That looks really, really nice. And then we also have our Tethyshadros. Here is the laying down version, as we have two different ones. We have a relaxing version and then a standing version. So we've got our relaxing version right here, and it looks really, really beautiful. We'll set that one right back there. And then we've also got the incredibly striking standing version, and straight out of the package, I must say that I am incredibly impressed with these figures, not just because they're Tethyshadros models, but because of the fact that the detailing aspect on these is just so much nicer than the Protoceratops. And the Protoceratops, I actually really loved that figure. I thought it was a great figure, a great initial release from Wild Past, but the actual detailing aspect is really amped up in comparison to what we had seen on the Protoceratops, which is really, really exciting because, of course, that means you're getting a higher quality model when it comes to the Wild Past releases, but also showing you that you get a really good high quality interpretation of a Tethyshadros with this set. And I believe we just take the feet and we're just going to slide that right into the spot right there. It's a little hard to actually see it so far back from the camera. And there we go. Our Tethyshadros is inside the base, as well as the relaxing version over here, and they look super, super cool. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at both of these right now. So starting with the kind of standing, walking type of a version, you can see that the head sculpt looks beautiful. Really nice overall appearance to the head sculpt, and you can see that the actual detailing here on the head looks really quite nice as well. You have a lot of osteoderms poking up here and there on the head sculpt, like kind of running the border of the head sculpt right there, as well as some really nice, very fine scale detail on the face right there that you can see. And you can see it transitions to a really dark brown up here on the top, actually like I would say black, but then as you transition down here to the side of the face, it's also a really nice variation of a dark brown, and then on the underside we have a white coloration, but it seems to pick up in the throat region, I would say. The eye does seem to be painted with just a black, I'm thinking, yes. Definitely looks to be painted with a black. The eye paint is a little sloppy, I would say. This side is just a little bit too intense, I think, as far as the black eye paint goes. And this side looks a little less precise, but there's a smaller amount of paint. So I personally do not mind, actually, because I can just simply touch that up really quick and easily to make that look really nice. But you can also see that the inside of the mouth is really nicely sculpted, although you can see next to my finger here, the inside of the mouth is very small. You can make out the tongue in there, but it's just too hard to, I would say, get in there and see it too well. You can see like the detailing of the beak and everything does look really quite nice. I don't know how well it'll focus this close. Not very well, but you can definitely see some nice detailing included within the beak right there. As you lead down the neck, you can see like some nice creasing going on in the skin. As you get closer to the shoulder blades, there's more creasing picking up, and again showing off like the movement of the arms right there. Even including the way that the arms are kind of tucked into the body, you can kind of see like the skin reacting in the stomach region slightly right there. We're losing our focus right here, but the arm sculpt looks really nice, and it has some nice white stripes there as it transitions to a black down on the lower part of the arms, and they are impressively well done considering the size of the figure being a 1/35th scale figure. You can see that that easily fits within one single hand, so the paintwork and sculpt work being as nice as it is really quite impressive considering the size of the figure. Again, really nice smooth transitions there between the colors, and I love that we have like this darker brown up here, but then it transitions to a little bit of a lighter brown, still kind of a darker brown, but lighter as far as the shade goes than what we have up there, and you can see that that transition is really smooth as well. Once you get back into the stomach region here, you can see like some nice white stripes that obviously give this dinosaur a very flashy look, but in a really nice and natural way, and those white stripes lead up from the underside, and they are abundant throughout the entire figure until we get out onto the closer to the tip of the tail. You can again see the really beautiful texturing and scale detail to this Tethyshadros as well when you look at the entire figure, and it seems to have been given a dark wash. It sort of looks like it has one. Potentially, it's a little tough to tell, but it definitely looks really good, and the scale detail pops beautifully, especially when you lead back here into the hip region. Like you can really see in the hip and thigh on top of the really nice muscle tone you have displayed on the figure, but you can really see how gorgeous that scale detail is right there. You can again make out the hip bone right there, which I did kind of just run right past. I didn't mention how nicely elaborated that hip is in the sculpt, and it's really beautifully done. And then as you lead down here into the lower part of the leg, you can pick up on the kneecap right there, as well as the nice calf muscle. Again, some more really nice texturing to the skin. As you lead down into the foot, we do transition back to that black coloration like we saw up there on the arms, and then you can see more of those stripes in the lower part of the leg as well. There's also a line of ridges that run down along the spinal column of our Tethyshadros, which you may not be able to pick up on too well because the figure is really small, but you can definitely see right there as we get nice and close that there are some really nice ridges that run along the spinal column. And looking from up here, you can actually see some nice osteoderms and stuff that run down the course of the upper part of the back close to the spinal column as well. If you come down here into the tail, you can again see the skin kind of reacting with the leg pushing back into the tail right there. You can see more beautiful scale detail as we lead out the length of the tail. We have more of those white stripes coming from the underside, but then once we reach this point, they become just an entirely white stripe that engulfs the entire length of the tail all the way around, and then transitions back to the black, just like we saw on the legs and arms of our Tethyshadros, and you can see how it transitions straight to a black tip for the tail. Really cool, really flashy, but really realistic looking paint scheme on the figure. And over here you can again see how insanely beautiful the actual detailing is. Like, I am so impressed with just how much of an upscale and quality they have given this Tethyshadros in comparison to the Protoceratops. It's just really beautiful looking detail on something so small. You can, I think, get a better idea of the tongue kind of sticking up from this position right here. As you can see the tongue sticking up right there in the mouth, a little more so than when I look at it from the front. You can't see it too well there, but with the backdrop right there, you can see the tongue displayed in the mouth region of our Tethyshadros, as well as the nostrils, actually, you can pick out in this position. Again, the head sculpt looks great, but also the texturing of the head sculpt looks great as well. As you lead down into the neck and throat region, you can see the throat is nicely elaborated from the skin right there. Again, some nice creasing going on in the neck region of the Tethyshadros. Beautiful coloration. Again, I really love the tones of brown that they've used on this and how nice and naturally applied it is. You see more of those stripes running down the course of the arm. The arm over here is a little bit further forward in comparison to the opposing arm, so the arms are not exactly in the same position. And you can see again some more really nice detailing in the stomach region as far as the texturing goes. Some more of those stripes kind of designing up from the underside into the side of our Tethyshadros. And right here you can really see how beautiful that texturing to the skin is. As you get closer up to the spinal column and you take a look at some of those osteoderms and stuff, it looks really, really nice. You do have again some beautifully displayed muscle tone back here in the leg, and you can again see the nice variations of brown included as we transfer down into that blackish coloration. And you can actually get a really nice idea of what the foot sculpt looks like, since we didn't actually look at that on the previous side, which this foot is actually curled in a little bit, so it's a little harder to see. So this side I would say would probably be the more obvious side to take a look at the foot sculpt, and you can see that it looks really, really good. Again, the detailing aspect of these figures is incredibly well done. And you can again see the skin stretching off of the body right there as the Tethyshadros is taking a step forward, so it's stretching the skin right there really nicely. Nice attention to detail on the part of Wild Past, and you can again see more of that really cool designing going up from the underside up into the body right there as far as that striping with the white coloration, and then it turns into these very solid white stripes and then back to the black coloration out here on the tail. The underside also does look really quite nice as far as a detailing standpoint goes, but the figure is so small it's a little hard to really get in there and see how nice it is. You do also have a white spot up here on the top of the head just for a little extra color variation. So I love this one. Absolutely awesome. And then we have the second version, the relaxing version, and you can see that as far as the actual sculpt and detail goes, this one is just as beautiful as the initial version that we had taken a look at. Up here on the head sculpt, you can again see how nicely done the overall detailing to the head sculpt is. The eye paint looks really nice. I'm starting to think that that kind of a little bit sloppier eye paint on my what seems to be like a male version, this definitely looks to be more of a female, which I noticed right away when I picked it up because there isn't the white flashiness on the top of the head. We also don't have those stripes back here on the tail. So I'm assuming that this is meant to imply a female, and then the other one is a male, as it's a little bit of a flashier color scheme, or at least that's my take on it. I don't know if that's actually something that's been documented or not, but the eye paint on this one is really nice, and you can definitely see that right there, as is this side. So I'm starting to think that the sloppy paintwork on the other one there on the eye area might have just been a fluke that's limited obviously to mine. I have seen a few other people that had received theirs, and all of theirs look to be really nice as far as the paintwork goes. But you can see the beak again up here on the snout of the Tethyshadros up here on the top. You can see that nice black coloration that runs along the upper part of the head. You can see the detailing up there is really nice as well on the top of the head. But the head sculpt in general looks really nice. You have some beautiful scale detail up here on the head sculpt on both sides that looks really, really good. Very vibrant detailing, especially in comparison to the Protoceratops that they had released previously. You can see the throat region here is nicely elaborated again. As you run down the course of the body, the scale detail continues to look so nice. Like, it's so much better on this release, and again, I was so impressed with the Protoceratops, so it's nice to have the ability to be even more impressed with this release. You can see the front arms here are really nicely relaxed on the ground, holding the dinosaur up. Both are in exactly the same position, and both have that nice brown coloration that transitions to that black coloration with the white stripes again down the course of the arms. You do have some more stripes showing up here in the stomach region, just like we had seen on the previous one. You have some more really nice detailing, and just generally, like, you can really get a good idea of the structure of the Tethyshadros body right there. You can see more of those osteoderms that run down the course of the body up there by the spinal column, as well as that row of ridges like we had seen on the other version. The standing version looks really, really nice. It's so impressive how small they are, but you can see each of the ridges looks to be, sculpted individually, like they're not all combined together or anything. Really impressive in that aspect. You can definitely pick up on how nice the muscle tone is on this leg back here, beautifully displayed in the sculpt, even down here into the calf muscle. The coloration is really nice and smooth as far as the transitions go in this area as well, down into that black again. You can see the skin stretching off of the body right here as this leg is pulling forward, and then as we lead out the length of the tail, you can see the tail transitions to that alternate shade of brown right there, as well as some more of those stripes leading up from the underside. But again, we don't have those kind of more vibrant stripes up here on the tail like we saw in the opposing version, so again leading me to believe that that one might be a male. But it does transition back to a black coloration out here on the tip. And then on the opposing side, again, we don't see too much as far as detailing goes in comparison to what we had seen on the previous side, because of course our Tethyshadros is laying down and it's leaning on this side, so there is, a really crunched underside here to your dinosaur. You can see the leg laying here on the underside of the figure right there, but that's not the area that you're really going to see as the dinosaur is laying like this. This is pretty much what you're going to see as far as your model goes if you have it in this position. Definitely a really cool set of figures that I think would be perfect for some dinosaur toy photography for sure. And then we've also got the base, and the base is beautiful. Again, a really nicely done base. The texturing and everything to the base is super lifelike, super realistic. Some really incredible amounts of detail included here on the base, and you can see like rocks and stuff showing up here and there. Again, that log that's laying over here to the side, nice tones of color chosen for the base, and you have like some moss and stuff out here on the outer edges of our base, as well as a nice brown coloration here on the inside. And I really think the base is beautifully done and is a really nice addition to this set, really creating a beautiful scene for our Tethyshadros pair. And then if we take a look at the underside, you can see Tethyshadros, and then 2020, Wild Past, made in Germany. Of course, it does state that this figure was supposed to release last year, but unfortunately with the pandemic and everything going on, the figure did end up getting delayed quite a bit. But I am really psyched to now have these gorgeous Tethyshadros released from Wild Past and in my collection. And again, just like I had stated earlier, you just have to look at the base right here to decide how to apply your Tethyshadros to the base. You can see that there are footprints. You can even see the toes and everything in there. So you just have to take the feet and push them down into there. And I love that you actually have to push them down, because sometimes this doesn't work very well to have like the dinosaur standing on. It's hard to do it just standing there like that. You have to kind of put it down on the ground and then put it in there. There we go. Once it's in the base, it stands so perfectly. And I like that you actually have to press it down into the ground a little bit, because I have seen figures like this before where you have to apply it like that, where there's no like peg or anything. And for instance, one good example of that is the Dino Hazard Irritator. That figure is a gorgeous figure, but it has the same style where you have to just kind of push the foot down into the base a little bit, but not enough. So the dinosaur at first stood really well, but as time has gone on, it's stopped balancing so well. Now it falls quite often when it's on the base, which is weird. It stands better when it's off the base, but once it's on the base, has the same style of, the approach to the base. It falls quite often, but these do not. You can see that the fact that I have to actually press the Tethyshadros foot down into the ground quite far is a good idea of how good the dinosaur is going to stand, because it helps to make it a lot more stable and sturdy on the base. And also the fact that the figure is really small, so I really don't see any type of an issue happening as far as the balance of that, and it looks so cool when it's actually up there on the base. But as far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at right around the, I would say, closing in on about 4.5 inches, or about the 11.5 centimeter range. And then for a height, you're looking at right about 2 inches, pretty much on the dot, or 5 centimeters. And then for the relaxing version here, you can see that this one is a little smaller, actually. It's, I'd say, right around the 4-inch range, or about 10 centimeters. And then for a height, it's really going to be small, about 3/4 of an inch, I would say, or about 2.5 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. So really, really quite small, but keeping in that 1/35th scale size range. For a size comparison, here are our usual review comparison suspects, as we have Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. And in comparison to these Tethyshadros, you should have a good idea of how small they are. But again, due to their smaller size and the overall gorgeous appearance, I think it really shows how impressive the figures are, whether it's the detailing aspect, the paint aspect, or just in general the really cool appearance that they have. This set is beautiful. And for a second size comparison, here is the initial Wild Past release with the Protoceratops in comparison to the newest release from Wild Past with the Tethyshadros. And the Protoceratops is a beautiful figure. Like, I am a huge fan of that release from the Wild Past line, but you can probably tell, I would imagine, just looking at these two right here, just how much more impressive the detailing aspect of the newer Tethyshadros is in comparison to the Protoceratops. Like, the Protoceratops is really, really well done, and honestly, it is a very impressive and highly recommended figure from me, but the detailing has definitely been improved upon, which Wild Past themselves has actually pointed out, and I really love that they have now improved the details so much on their figures. And for yet another comparison, here is the Tethyshadros from Wild Past next to the Tethyshadros from Kayakasaurus, and I'm almost a little sad that I had given this Tethyshadros the paint scheme that I did, because I should have given it the same paint scheme as the Wild Past version, and then I would have had an entire group of this species of dinosaur all painted in similar fashion. But regardless, I wanted to show you guys the different versions of the Tethyshadros that are out currently that you can actually purchase, and show you just how beautiful they all look together. So these newest 2020, apparently, even though I would say 2021 as they have just recently dropped, but the underside of the base does say 2020. But these newest Wild Past Tethyshadros models are beautifully done, absolutely gorgeous looking models, and I am so psyched to have a release of a Tethyshadros, a dwarf hadrosaur, and it's something that's really awesome that previously, until I had acquired the Kayakasaurus version, I never actually had the ability to have one of these in my collection. And now, luckily for me and so many others, Wild Past has finally released theirs, giving so many people, a very wide range of people, the ability to add a Tethyshadros, and not just one, but to add two into their collections, and I think that is really awesome. And not only do you have the ability to enter a Tethyshadros into your collection, but they're really nice looking figures. Like, the detailing aspect and the paint for the size is really honestly beautifully done. Both versions of the Tethyshadros are really nice as far as the detailing standpoint, capturing pretty much everything going on with the dinosaur as far as like what would be occurring on the body at the time of the pose of this dinosaur, showing off like skin stretching and wrinkles and creases. All of that looks really nice, and just generally the texturing to the skin again looks so much more vibrant on these figures. Poses as well are really nice. I love the fact that we have kind of like a walking version here with a base, because it looks so super striking, and just a really nice appealing to the eye type of an appearance to the Tethyshadros, the walking version. And then you have the laying version, which is again something that is a 100% realistic aspect of these dinosaurs. They're not always going to be running around, they're going to be relaxing. So Wild Past really bringing a lot of realism to the figures and creating something that in my opinion is beautiful, because of the fact that we have that kind of, almost looks like it's the male standing guard of the female, and maybe the female is near a nest or something and it's just relaxing, kind of keeping an eye out over the nest. The male sort of almost looks like he's like watching over the area around the nest to make sure that nothing comes near it, and almost at the same time appears to be letting out some sort of a vocalization. So maybe it's trying to send away some sort of an animal that's getting too close to the nest. Maybe I'm just looking too far into it, I don't know. But that's kind of what my takeaway is from the overall scene that it's portraying. And just kind of looking at the figures here together, it almost takes me back into that moment and really creates that scene in my mind. I absolutely love that aspect of the models as well. The paintwork is really quite nice, and although my male version does have a tiny hint of sloppiness to the eye, again, I feel like that's just a one-off as far as my figure goes, because I've seen a few others and they all looked really, really good. So not something that I would be concerned about at all, and I can easily touch that up. But aside from the eye area, everything looks great as far as the paintwork goes, and I love the paint scheme that they've chosen for the figure. Really nice natural tones of brown, but then they have that really nice white coloration that stripes up from the underside, just making it look incredibly striking and again appealing to the eye in that aspect as well. And I like that they've also altered the paint a little bit between what I assume is a male version and the female version, so that the female has a little bit more of a female type of a look and the male has a little bit of a flashier male type of a look. So again, capturing just unreasonable amounts of realism in this release. So both of these Wild Past Tethyshadros are fantastic figures from this line. Again, all in 1/35th scale. This is going to be a great line to collect if you are a fan of keeping your dinosaurs in that one size range, that one scale, and the fact that each one will be released in 1/35th scale is absolutely awesome. And I'm beyond excited to now have 2 releases officially in my collection from Wild Past, and I cannot wait to see their Majungosauruses. I know the Majungosaurus and Scutosaurus are already, I believe, in production, so those figures hopefully won't be too far off in the future. So make sure you check the description, as I will have a link right there to Dan's Dinosaurs, where you can head on over there right now. They are officially in stock on Dan's Dinosaurs currently, so make sure you head on over there, place an order for these gorgeous Tethyshadros, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.